Okay, here let's get to the good stuff, and just real briefly before we examine language in America. I am now a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and aren't they the ones that they've redeemed themselves finally? They're the ones that brought Michael Vick back to the fucking football, right?
Yes.
Well, so I always wanted them all to fucking be boiled in oil and have their fat sold for soap because of that, but they have redeemed themselves now, at least as a team in my eyes. Michael Vick can still go fuck himself with a rusty fucking fishing knife. But the Eagles have redeemed themselves. They've told Donald Trump to go fuck off, and at least many of them said, we ain't going to the White House to meet this fucking asshole. And so, like the fucking child that he is, well, then none of them can come. But the fans can come, but they can't come. So, and I'm sure that I know the Eagles that were going to come, there were some of them that were going to go, but I don't think any of them were looking at it as the crowning achievement of their life. So it's probably like, oh, thank God he said that. Now we don't have to go either. We just didn't want to look bad. But even the fucking Philadelphia Eagles, the football representatives of the cradle of democracy, are telling this fucking disgusting pig to go fuck himself. They don't want to be around him. So that shows that there is hope for some people.
I did get a kick out of the fact that they didn't say they were canceling the event. They were canceling the invitation to the Eagles. They're continuing on with the event, which has now become a celebration of America where they're going to play the national anthem. I mean, it sounds like a parade without any of the walking.
Because as everybody knows, the NFL players were protesting the national anthem. Everybody with a brain knows they were protesting the national anthem.
The Eagles didn't even
get even with them.
The Eagles didn't even have anyone who did any of the protesting.
Well, that's true. They didn't even have anybody that knelt down. They just don't want to be around fucking Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But no, because otherwise he would have to acknowledge the fact that people are protesting a legitimate problem that he refuses to do anything about, which is the violence of police against fucking African Americans in general, but really everybody, African Americans in particular, rather, but really everybody in general. Or also he would have to admit that a lot of people don't want to associate with him because instead of the office of the president making him important, he has made the office of the president equivalent to Howie the mailroom guy at Titan Sports. And there they are right now calling me to fucking – it's somebody trying to sell me something. Hold on. Fuck you. Leave me the fuck alone. Lose my number. There we go. All right. Now – so anyway, that's what this fucking Donald Trump motherfucker is all about. And this relates to what I want to talk to everybody about. If you want wrestling, go to the drive-thru this week, because this is one thing I've been able to keep up with. Roseanne Barr got her ass fired because I don't know why this was a revelation. Everybody knows she was held up by Donald Trump as the perfect example of a Trump supporter. And then she proves that she's the epitome of a Trump supporter. She's always been a fucking redneck, trailer park trash, fucking loudmouthed, obnoxious, arrogant, unfunny, conservative, right-wing, conspiracy crackpot theorist, fucking douchebag for her entire life. And suddenly, people thought this was a revelation, but suddenly even she went too far. Because she actually compares a well-respected African-American woman who served in the administration of the, unfortunately for all of you, including Roseanne, best president we've had in the past 50 years, to a combination of the Muslim Brotherhood and an ape, the Planet of the Apes movie. The point is, she actually, instead of beating around the bush about being racist, she actually went for the actual epitome of racist remark by comparing a black woman to an ape. When you look in the dictionary under the word racist, you pretty much see that. It's the standard thing. It's what they did to Michelle Obama. It's what they did to Barack Obama. It's what all of them fucking have done because they're so fucking frustrated that all these black people were so much smarter than they were and so much more successful than they were. Or in Roseanne's case, even if she may have been successful, we definitely know who got the intelligence. So she gets fired because guess who her boss is at fucking the network? A black woman. Imagine that. Imagine if while I had worked for Vince McMahon, I had gone on the fucking Twitter, if they had one of those at that time, and said, by the way, every rich billionaire wrestling promoter that lives in fucking Greenwich, Connecticut is a fucking asshole. So they fire Roseanne, and immediately everybody, their heads are on fire. How can you fire for that? Because most people in this country are getting sick and fed up of their bullshit, right? The Trumpers' bullshit. And they don't want it anymore. But then what was it, 2 days later, Samantha Bee, she doesn't make a racist remark or a sexist remark or any other kind of remark. She makes a personal remark on her opinion of Ivanka Trump, and their heads are on fire because she called her a feckless cunt. Now, when they looked in the dictionary to see feckless, right? Right. They actually weren't even that probably upset, but cunt. For the right wing, they're not ashamed when their representative, their handpicked by the president representative, calls a black woman an ape on not national television, but in front of the world. They're not upset terribly when children get shot in school. That's our thoughts and prayers if we could only do something. But when you call somebody a cunt, their heads are on fire. Ivanka Trump is a feckless cunt. Feckless is basically ineffectual, useless, or whatever. She exerts no influence on her father not to be crazy. And she's a cunt because you can look at it and tell. She's a fucking cunt. And I asked Stacy. She said, yeah. She's the kind of rich fucking fashion model fucking douchebag that in high school all the other girls would have called a cunt. It's not the words. It's not the language. It's the meaning behind it. And as far as I'm concerned, Samantha Bee made a pretty spot-on assertion of Ivanka Trump's personality. It didn't reflect on every other woman in the world, or every other white woman in the world, or every other white, whatever her religion woman is in the world. It reflected on her personally. She's a feckless fucking cunt because she does nothing. She's ineffectual to stop her father from being a fucking lunatic. And in particular, they were talking about where Ivanka Trump tweeted the picture, I guess, of her and the kid. But meanwhile, they've lost about 1,500 other people's kids and can't find them across the country, where they've taken them and separated them from their parents. And as a political fucking ploy, and try to blame the Democrats for that. So anyway, they lost about 1,500 other kids, but Ivanka's got hers where she knows where she is or whatever. That was what the fucking point was. They sold, actually, by the way, though, the Trump and Z ralliers sold Hillary as a cunt shirts. So apparently they weren't upset that Hillary is a cunt, but they're upset that Ivanka's a cunt. It's not the language, it's the meaning behind the language. The word cunt in and of itself, you ever been to England, folks? You ever been to the United Kingdom? They love cunts over there. Hi, you fucking cunt. Oh, he's a right cunt. Cunt, 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 cunt. Cunt, cunt, cunt. Because it's a word. But children are really getting shot and bleeding and dying and shit because of these fucking type of people. And fucking racism exists because of these fucking type of people. And the fucking cake business, the Supreme Court pushed out on that. Instead of just telling the baker, fuck you and your fucking invisible God, bake the fucking cake. That's what you're in business for. They have to get out on a technicality. And even speaking of the cunt business, remember I called also Dana Loesch, the soulless terrorist cunt that shills for the NRA. As soon as the heat went on the cunt word, right? Snidely Lash, her apparently unemployed husband who leeches off of her, fucking fame amongst the mentally challenged, reruns my tweet where I called her the terrorist cunt, seeing if he can get some heat on me because he's a fucking whiny little bitch and he wants to go and tell the principal and stooge off and the teacher and narc on people. So he tried to get that in, and I got more from the fucking the patriots and the right wing and the hashtag 2As and hashtag MAGAs and everything. So I just thought today I would make sure that Snidely Whiplosh and Dana Loesch and Roseanne Barr and Sarah Sanders, she's in there too, and all the people on the Twitter, I want you to know exactly what I think, because you are the most dangerous evil that this country faced today, because there's a lot of, let's be hospitable, mentally challenged people out there that buy your shit, that are buying the shit that you're cooking. But you are soulless, shameless, evil, douchebag cunts, Sarah Sanders or Dana Loesch, because you know it's all bullshit. You know you're doing it either for money in Sanders' case or to be a star in this Dana Loesch's case, but you're doing it for profit and for personal gain. You are lying to people, the American public. You are trying to normalize activity and make people think that it's acceptable to think like this, to normalize the concept of the president of the United States lying to the American people, or normalizing the fucking idea that it's okay for everybody to have as many guns of whatever kind that they want to have, all for your personal profit and your personal fucking gain. This is not a wrestling program or an entertainment program or a movie or a fucking radio show or goddamn America's Got Talent or whatever. This is serious shit that affects people's fucking lives. And that's why I don't like the Loesch's and the Sanders and the rest of them. And yes, Sarah Sanders is the most unattractive female human being in the world, but more because she wasn't blessed with physical attractiveness. As I've mentioned, she fell out of the ugly tree and hit every branch on the way down, but she's so sour and fucking obnoxious, and she's blatantly full of shit, and she has that fucking look that she looks down her nose at people, that TV evangelist look that she inherited from her religious fanatic father. Now the Dana Loesch, now she has inherited some good genes, and she's physically attractive, until you look at her and realize that behind those black eyes is a black soul of an NRA shill. And she becomes unattractive because of the heinousness in her fucking nature. And also because them and everybody else that knows better than this, but is doing, and that includes every Republican member of fucking Congress, the Senate, everything that hasn't already come out and said Donald Trump's fucking dangerous. They're all in this because they're doing it for personal profit, to see their fucking backwards ass caveman agenda passed. They don't mind that the president is a mental case, as long as their shit gets done that they think ought to be done for the fucking country. They're all involved in this. If you're profiting off of this shit or promoting this shit or promulgating this shit, even though you know better, then you're a piece of shit. But there's a lot of people out there that are into this shit and they believe it. And the more and the Fox Newses feed that, and the NRAs feed it. You can look at their Twitters. It's a dangerous subculture. Remind people when this happens that I warned you that these people are goddamn dangerous. Something's going to happen with these people. Look at their Twitters. Hashtag MAGA, hashtag 2A, hashtag freedom, hashtag God, hashtag Christian. Pictures of guns and flags and eagles and the Constitution. The fringe elements of society, that this shit is the only shit they think about. I'm not talking about just somebody goes to church on the weekend. I'm not talking about somebody that has a gun or two laying around. I'm not talking about even somebody that voted for Trump at this point. I'm talking about a dangerous subculture, and this is apparently how you identify them, by their Twitter. They are groups of gun nuts and hoarders and fetishists, and they have run into a bunch of conspiracy theorists and science deniers. And they have joined up with a bunch of fanatically religious people. And then they get the groups that are mad that the black guy was smarter than they were. And the people who fantasize about being Sylvester Stallone in fucking Rambo movies. And the conservative patriots. Remember, the more patriotic you are, the more guns that you want to hoard to fight against your own government. But conversely, they are in support of the only president that might actually foster an environment where that might have to happen. And then let's not forget the anti-abortion crowd, not just the people who say, well, they really shouldn't do that, but the people who are planning and fucking looking at blueprints on how to bomb the abortion clinics. They're in this group too. They love these kind of people. And they love fucking Trump, because remember what George Carlin says, pre-birth, you're okay. Preschool, you're fucked. They're not going to do a goddamn thing about the actual legitimate living, breathing children that get shot in school, because that would infringe on their invisible supreme being given rights that don't exist in a constitution that was written 250 years ago. But if you're pre-birth, and you can either be saved from being born into a family that doesn't want you and can't support you, where you will lead a life of misery and probably turn to crime, oh no, they're going to protect you at all costs, so you will get born and potentially abused by the parents that didn't want you to begin with. A much better life. So I wrote a note to myself because I wanted to get this straight. So I wrote a note trying to describe the people that I see on Twitter that are supporting Donald Trump, the NRA, the Republicans, and the conservative principles. You've got a group of people who believe that the solution to the United States having 1,000% more gun violence of any country in the world is to let everybody have as many guns of any kind as they want, who believe that laws and public policy should be made in accordance with the teaching of an invisible, fictitious supreme being, who believe the country should be run according to a document written when witches were still being burned at the stake and it was legal to own people, and who believe you should be allowed to tell a woman whether she has to have a baby or not, but not be able to tell a fucking baker he's got to bake a fucking cake. So they elected a real estate fraud with a personality disorder and megalomania, who's a pathological liar and completely unfit for the job, to be the leader of the free world, because they knew he wouldn't solve any of the problems that they're too stupid to identify. And he won't, because he's too busy trying to stay out of jail. And they also wanted to get even with all the sane, normal, intelligent people that still live in this country, because the guy we elected was smarter, more honest, more articulate, more reasonable, more capable, more productive, more dignified, a better human being in every way. And damn it, he was black. That describes this group of people that you see, the way they think, the way they talk, the profiles they put up, the things they live their lives around. And there's a lot of them. Millions of them. You know what I always say? You don't want people to call you stupid, don't do stupid shit. If you don't want to be in the group that I just described, we need to all get out in November and vote some anti-GOP, join some protests against the NRA, contribute, whatever the fuck. The NRA, terrorists or just a protection racket, by the way? Say, that's a nice senatorship you got there. Be a shame if anything happened to get you voted out. We need to run these fuckers off Twitter with their hashtag 2A fucking hashtags and their pictures of Andrew fucking Jackson. We need to do something about this, because this is a dangerous group of people. And if all these people don't like me, then I'm apparently doing something right, and they do not like me. And I do not want to have these cretins in my social circle. They are obviously not the kind of people that I would enjoy hanging out with, and vice versa, I'm sure. But so I don't give a fuck what they think, except the fringe lunatics have hijacked a major political party in this country, and all of our lives are now being adversely affected by horse shit, and none of us ought to be happy about it. And you know, yes, I have fun with these fucks on Twitter sometimes, and I get a kick out of stirring them up and having them call me names and everything. But at the root of this is serious, because yes, I do want all of them to know what I think of them. That's why I tweet these things. But also, I try to also alert people and call attention to when people are just like when you set your head on fucking fire. When you set your head on fire, you're a stupid person. I like to call attention to stupid people. And that way, most sane people say, that guy's stupid. I don't want to be like him. Don't be like stupid guy. When your solution to school children getting shot is to give more people guns, you're stupid. And I like to call attention to that, because we need to do ultimately I'm talking to the cult of Cornette now and all the cool kids in the room and the people with half a fucking brain and cognitive function. What we need to do with these people is what they do. They vote. They're fanatical about that too, right? They vote. That's all they want to do. They wait to vote. If they're willing to stockpile assault rifles to fight the government and bomb abortion clinics in the name of God, they're going to take 2 hours off of work on a Tuesday every other year. And they're going to vote. And so they're overrepresented, because the rest of us often, and I always did, assume that most people are sane and everything's going to be all right, because they didn't vote. Then when I started voting, still a lot of people say most people have figured out Trump's an idiot. There's a blue wave coming. There's only 5 million people in the NRA, so there's not really that many fucking fanatics. We're not safe. These people are way overrepresented in voter turnout. Older, whiter, more conservative people vote at a higher rate than anybody else, and we got to change. And the kids from Parkland are going out. They're spending their summer vacation. Remember when you wanted to get out of summer when you were a kid so you could fucking jack off for 3 months or get out of school in summer? These kids are going on a nationwide tour to sign up other teenagers to be able to vote when they turn 18 and when they're legal and et cetera, to try to do something about this problem. We all ought to be standing up. They ought to have those kids to the White House to recognize what they're doing for the country, since the fucking adults are too goddamn stupid and fucking lazy to do it. Except those kids wouldn't go to the White House either, because there's a fucking pig living in it. And nobody wants to be in the slop with the fucking pig, except people like Sarah Palin and Ted Nugent. One's a pig with lipstick, and the other one wants to fuck them. I'm just saying we got to do something about this. That was my weekend on Twitter. I had to look and see again that there are a lot of these people out there, Brian, and we all got to do something about it, because this is more dangerous than we would believe, because we don't go around every day thinking there's a lot of crazy, insane people out there in the world, and they all have common identifying characteristics. And if they want to do background checks, the exact people they ought to do the first background checks on are the goddamn people that are stockpiling fucking guns and ammunition in the thought that they might have to fight the government. And there's a bunch of those people admitting it on Twitter every day. It's like Carlin. It's once again, the United States has turned into a George Carlin routine. Remember when he said, you go in, they say it's always after a murder, it's always the quiet ones you got to watch. No, it's not the quiet one sitting over there in the corner of the bar reading a book, sipping on a fucking beer. It's a guy that busts in the door waving a chainsaw over his head, screaming, I'm going to kill every motherfucker in the place. That's the one you got to watch. So when these people are out there saying, yes, we stockpile guns, the government may get froggy or whatever the fuck, why isn't somebody watching them? Does this make any sense to you? You got me all worked up twice in the same show. But anyway, so basically, this has been a Twitter heavy show, but as it relates to my Twitter, if you don't like what I say, get the fuck off of it. If I see you saying any of that shit, I'm going to fucking probably shoot you down if I have the time. And if you want to actually legitimately do something to help all of us out, no, you don't even have to be patriotic. It's because it's selfish. You're going to be helping yourself. We need to all get together. We need to all spread this fucking word around. We need to make sure that all the people that don't want to be viewed as stupid fucking morons band together like these people have and do something about these issues and ostracize this fringe element like they do now people that fucking beat their children in public and smoke. Because elsewise, I'm sorry, but Jesus H. Christ. The more these people spawn and reproduce and spread this shit, there's always going to be people that are gullible and that believe shit and that believe. Look at religion for the last 2,000 years. Gullible people or people with mental challenges get overfixated on the shit, and what happens? War, death, famine, pestilence, and goddamn mayhem. And this is a whole brand new kind of religion, this gun thing and this patriot thing with these people. And it's even more dangerous because even religion is dangerous because it teaches people to actually believe in the supernatural and rely on things that don't exist instead of taking matters in their own hands. But the religion of guns, the first thing they tell you to do is go get guns. Go get guns and then be mentally unhinged and fanatical. What the fuck? Of course they think the FBI and government and the CIA shouldn't be intruding on their homes and fucking intruding on their rights. Because if it was a sane goddamn world, these would be the exact people that people would be keeping a fucking eye on. And I'm talking about the ones that really believe it. The ones that don't really believe it, like the ones that profit off of it, like the Sanderses and the Loesches and the fucking, what's that goddamn prick? Wayne LaPierre. Just a name that makes you want to just, as Frank Morrell used to say, slap him down and piss on him in front of the boys.
You saw he's stepping down, right? He's being replaced?
He's being replaced by fucking Oliver North, right?
Oliver North. Yeah.
A convicted criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Law and Order Party. The Law and Order Party elected an administration that already is ahead of the Nixon administration in guilty pleas and plea bargains. The Law and Order Party are the ones who are running pedophiles, convicted criminals. It's fucking insane, and they can't get it. They can't see it. So the one, as I was about to say, all the ones that are doing this, they know better. The ones at the head of this, they all know better. They all know they're just out for themselves. They're trying to make a profit, and they're trying to do their thing and protect their territory and fuck with anybody that tries to run opposition. They're evil and heartless, and they're bad enough. But the real dangerous ones are the ones that really believe this shit, because they're the followers and they're the minions. They're the ones that'll lay their lives down for this shit. And they're the ones you got to keep an eye on. You need to vote the fucking leaders out. And as soon as they're voted out and they can't profit off these fucking people anymore, then they'll goddamn find a new goddamn scam and they'll fucking drop them. But these people that believe this shit, you need to keep an eye on them. Word to the wise from James E. And as Dennis Condrey used to say, in summation to whether that the fucking right-wing, alt-right, gun nut, NRA, conservative Christian fucking crowd gets mad because I call somebody a cunt or doesn't like me, as Dennis used to say, as I sit here, right now, I do not give a fuck. And as a special note to Snidely Whiplosh, because I did tweet him and tell him I'd love to run into him sometime and tell him all the things that are wrong with him. And I would. Of course, everybody started tweeting, you'd run and hide. He's a big man. And well, no, here's the thing. One of three things would happen if I met Chris Loesch. And he knows so many people he claims to know in the wrestling business. I'm sure he probably does know a few gun fanatics. If I met Chris Loesch, one of three things would happen. Number one, I would tell him all the things I think are wrong with him, and he'd either stand there and take it or walk away. Those are one and two. Or three, he'd hit me. And then I'd do what everybody else wants to do. I'd call the cops on him, put him in jail, and sue him. And take his fucking cunt wife's goddamn NRA paycheck and contribute it to the fucking Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School for all those fucking kids that got shot. Because at least somebody could fucking get something good done off of these fucking leeches and parasites. Those are the three things that could happen. The fourth thing would be he would kill me, which apparently, since he carries guns around, he might be able to do, but then he'd probably go to jail for life, and I don't think he's willing to fucking do that, especially with that mustache in prison. So basically, it would be he'd stand there and take it, he'd walk away, or he'd hit me, and I'd sue him. And yeah, I can be a pussy and call a lawyer too, just like everybody else does, because he's a whiny little bitch. So that's what would happen. So Snidely Whiplosh, for you and your douchebag wife and all your fucking friends who fucking support you on Twitter, that's what you do. And you know that. So God bless you. Otherwise, Brian, you've got me so fucking worked up, I don't know whether I got anything else today or not.